children, 21 children at the age of 12, to an unfortunate fire at Endarasha Hillside Academy. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Homa Bay delegation, I wish to convey the condolences of the people of Homa Bay. A house with a conscience ought to have resumed its sittings with a minute's silence. Mr. Speaker, I'm a parent of a child in that demographic. My son turned 12 years old. And I would really tremble to think that I would send my son to school, to a boarding school, to pick up skills and to relate with other children, only for him to come back in a body bag. Mr. Speaker, if you read the story of Endarasha, it is a horror story. This is one of those things that if our committees were properly resourced, the first business would have been for the relevant committee, be it education or security, to go to Endarasha, to go there and establish the facts. We cannot trust the government to tell the story. We cannot trust the executive to tell the story. And that is why Parliament exists, such that if there is something that has happened in this nation, and Kenyans are very skeptical of the account that the National Executive provides, Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the relevant committee. If all of us cannot go to Endarasha, we must go there. We must establish the facts. We must assure the parents that it is safe to reopen the school. Mr. Speaker, a school where 21 children have been roasted to death, you can imagine the kind of trauma that will visit the other children if they are forced to go back to that school. And why would parents be forced to send their children back to that school? Because they are paid fees for the entire year, and they don't have an option to transfer their children. Mr. Speaker, we need to be empathetic, and Endarasha Hillside Academy summarizes the state of education in this country, that it doesn't matter, children can die as long as you don't touch the mountain. It doesn't matter, children can die as long as you don't destabilize the politics. A country that does not put children at the center of its policy and its politics is a country that is dead. Mr. Speaker, this morning, the CS for Labor brought here a redacted summary of Kenyans who have acquired jobs in the recent job-seeking spree that the president has been on. Out of that entire schedule, Mr. Speaker, 60% had secured jobs as housemates. Housemates. We are exporting housemates. We are manufacturing housemates. Mr. Speaker, what kind of education system is that? South Africa, the education system has produced and exported Elon Musk. He's now the richest man in the world. The Indian education system has produced and exported executives of tech companies globally. Kenya has produced and exported housemaids to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It is a big shame. That is the state of education in this country. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if there is a crisis that we need to deal with today, it is the education crisis that is manifested in strikes at all levels, from primary to secondary to universities. A university funding model that does not make sense, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude on the issue of the state of healthcare, as raised by Senator Mwaruma. Senator Mwaruma, some of these strikes by our doctors, they relate to delays in exchequer releases. But sometimes, the county governments deduct money from staff and they do not remit. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me just 1 minute to inform Senator Sifuna, who was very hard on CS Mbadi earlier in the morning. It is unfortunate I was not here to provide that information at that point. Mr. Speaker, CS Mbadi, after meeting the president, had an appointment with his tailor. Yesterday, there was a national outcry about the state of his suits and that he had cut his suits, the cloth too big for his size. And Mr. Speaker, if you all observe, CS Mbadi looks emaciated, he looks stressed, he looks fatigued. Mr. Speaker, we should all pray for CS Mbadi so that his suits can fit him again. We donated him when he was in good health. We donated him when his suits could fit him. In only 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker, CS Mbadi, yes, the suits cannot fit because of the state of the economy.
Senator Gloria, what is your
Please give us back our Mbadi.
Mr. Speaker, I am an amateur at this house. My point of order is on 101. And I have been learning through these senators on how to conduct myself in this house, a house of procedure, a house of rules, a house of mature people, Mr. Speaker. It is very saddening. 101, kindly refer to your standing order 101.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, let me...
Execute your point of
yes,
order.
Mr.
Don't
Speaker, it is very sad when some of us, young people, come here and we observe these other senators breaking the rules, acting misleading, acting very immature, Mr. Speaker, to come to the point of coming to discuss a cabinet secretary's dress code, a man discussing the dress code of another man in chambers, Mr. Speaker. It is shocking, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to also say, just allow me to conclude by saying, I wish had Senator Senator Kajwang, if he stood up to tell us that now, after his very extensive point of who we are exporting, Mr. Speaker, and by the way, housemaids are not, kazi ni kazi, Mr. Speaker. All jobs are dignified. I wish that this senator stood and said that the cabinet secretary was busy working and creating more jobs of engineers also, but he has come to discuss the dress code of another man, Mr. Speaker. We need to, first of all, investigate the intention and the interest of Senator Kajwang to discuss and looking at other men and discussing their dress code, Mr. Speaker.
That's good enough.
Mr. Speaker, it is very strange. As a woman, it is very strange that I come here. He should apologize. As women, we are not complaining. As women who are looking at this cabinet secretary and his dress code, we are not complaining. What is Senator Kajwang looking for in the dress code of our cabinet secretary, Mr. Speaker? He must withdraw and apologize. That is a dignified cabinet.
You know, when the chair talks to you, Senator Gloria, you should just listen and pause. And you did the cracks in front of me. When I call, a chair calls a member, you should just switch off the mic so that they can listen to the message that I want to convey. Next is Senator Chalge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to